Working a job is supposed to be about earning a paycheck and building a career. For most of us, our coworkers are just people we share a space with for 8 hours a day. We make small talk, we complain about the boss, and then we go home to our real lives. But sometimes, you realize that the person sitting in the next cubicle or working the same shift as you isn't exactly who they pretend to be. Sometimes, a professional environment can hide a very dark and dangerous personality. Tonight, I'm bringing you 3 very disturbing true coworker horror stories that will make you look at your colleagues in a completely different way. Lock your doors, turn down the lights. This is Night Tales. Back when I was 20, during the summer before my senior year of college, I landed an internship at a financial services firm downtown. It wasn't anything fancy, mostly data entry, spreadsheets, and sitting in front of a computer all day, but it paid decently and looked great on a resume. There were 7 other interns with me, and we were all crammed together in this open office section with rows of cubicles that didn't quite give you privacy, just enough to make small talk feel optional. Out of the 7, 5 of them were people I liked, a mix of chill, down-to-earth college students. Another guy, Eric, was the type who treated the whole thing like it was life or death. But the 7th intern, Alex, was something else entirely. When I first met Alex, he seemed normal enough, maybe a little awkward. He was tall, thin, kind of pale, and had this mop of dark hair that always looked a little unwashed. But it was the way he acted around me that threw me off. At first, it was subtle. He'd pop up at my cubicle, lean over the divider, and grin with this strange, frozen smile. Because the walls were low, only his head would be visible, making him look freakishly tall. He'd start talking in this deliberately weird, taunting voice, like he was trying to sound creepy on purpose. He'd say things like, "Working hard or hardly working, Ronnie?" in that slow, unnatural tone, and hold the smile for way too long. As the weeks went on, his visits got longer. He'd stay there for minutes, staring at me while talking, sometimes not even saying much. Then, one night, 6 weeks into the internship, my phone rang. It was Alex's voice on the other end, using that same forced, creepy tone. He said, "The tide's coming in. Pull your boat out of the water," and then burst into an unhinged laugh before hanging up. I never gave him my number. That Monday, Alex was gone. He'd been let go for poor performance. I thought it was over, until one Friday morning at 5 a.m., I saw him standing in my backyard, looking up at my window. He called my name in that same creepy voice and started laughing hysterically. When I threatened to call the police, he disappeared into the trees. I never saw him again, but the sound of that laughter in the dark is something I'll never forget. I was 17 when this happened, working my first real job at a local grocery store in a quiet Vermont town. Most of my coworkers were friendly, but there was one guy named Sean who was 24 and worked in the dairy section. He was awkward and didn't quite know how to read social cues. Eventually, I was added to a coworker group chat, and Sean started messaging me directly. At first, it was about shifts, but then he started asking personal questions and making flirty comments that made me uncomfortable. I was only 17, and he was much older. The turning point came when I was at home binge-watching Stranger Things. A couple of days later at work, Sean suddenly asked me, "You like Stranger Things, right?" I froze. I hadn't told anyone at work about the show. A few nights later, I heard a soft scraping noise against my bedroom window. I peeked through the blinds, but saw nothing. When Sean texted me again, I firmly told him I wasn't interested. He immediately replied, "Okay, good luck changing your address." That text proved he had been stalking me. I took screenshots to my manager and the police. Sean was fired on the spot, and a restraining order was issued. Even though he never came back, the psychological impact was enough to make me question my safety for years. When I was 26, I worked at a small insurance office in Pennsylvania. One stormy Friday, I volunteered to stay late to finish some filing. The only other person there was Tom, a guy in his 30s who had only started 2 weeks prior. He was tall, quiet, and off-putting. As the storm grew worse, the power flickered and then went out completely, leaving the office bathed in the orange glow of emergency lights. Tom locked the front door and muttered that it wasn't safe to go outside. I tried to use my phone, but there was no signal. When I went to the break room, I found Tom standing in the doorway with a flashlight under his chin, casting terrifying shadows on his face. He refused to unlock the door, claiming the storm was too dangerous. I began to panic. I tried the back door, but it had been chained shut from the inside, something we never did. I hid in a supply closet, listening to Tom walk slowly through the hall, calling my name in a comforting voice that sent chills down my spine. Eventually, I heard a loud crash. I crept out to find the front glass door shattered. Tom was gone. I ran to my car and never went back. Tom's car was found in the lot with his keys, phone, and wallet inside, but he was never seen again. He had manually turned off the security cameras before the power went out, suggesting he had been planning something far worse than just waiting out a storm. We believe our walls protect us, but sometimes the danger is sitting right next to us in a swivel chair. Always trust your instincts, especially when a coworker starts crossing the line. Because sometimes, the person you work with is the person you should fear the most. I am Saiful, and you are watching Night Tales. Sweet dreams, if you can.